Hello and welcome to the Weeball Podcast. And today we have a very special episode. Joining us, Tyler and I, is another Tyler who's the fastest man in college football. He's head to the NFL, and we are so excited to have him on. Joining us is Cincinnati's Tyler Scott. Tyler, how we doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Glad to be on.
Yeah, man, we're glad to have you on. Draft season is, in fact, in full swing. And, you just had the combine, but you've already been drafted in one league. And I got to ask, did you know the USFL draft thing was happening, or did you find out on Twitter like the rest of us?
Yeah, I found it on Twitter. So I had just got done. I just got done working out, and I go over to my phone, and I see my phone was just blowing up on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm like, why did I just gain like 200 followers on Instagram within a matter of 30 minutes, and then my Twitter was blowing up. I'm like, what is going on? What did I miss? And so I go to Twitter, and it said I got drafted by the USFL, and at the time, I'm like, maybe it's just some mock league or I don't know. I didn't think it was real. And so then I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, this seems to have some credibility. And so I hit up my agent. I'm like, hey man, you know anything, what's going on about this? He's like, he said, oh, that's wild. He just sent a laughing face. He's like, nah, man. He said, they just got the rights. They just got your rights just in case you decide to go to the USFL. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So like I said, didn't get no call, didn't get anything, just looked on Twitter and I seen it.
Listen, at least you
Yeah,
went to the
I
team with
know.
like the best logo. Like, you got the best logo in the league. That's all you need, bro. Yeah.
There's actually a former coach from Cincinnati who's on the team, I guess. So my receiver coach, who's now at Wisconsin, he called me. He's at Wisconsin with Fick now, so he called me and was like, "Hey, man," he's like, "I seen you're a first round pick." I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." You can say that in a sense, but he's like, "Yeah, man, one of our coaches, the safeties coach," and he mentioned, I'm like, "Oh yeah." He said he's a coach over there, and he gave me a call and said, "Hey, man, we just drafted Tyler Scott." So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. As we move on, obviously that was an interesting experience, but not far after that was the combine. And like I was just wondering, was there any sort of, different prep knowing how many teams you're going to be meeting, how many different coaches? What was the prep work like preparing for something like that?
Yeah, so I mean, you got drills that obviously that goes on, and then there's not just meetings, but there's so much behind the scenes stuff that goes on at the combine that people don't really realize. You're constantly talking to different teams and coaches, and and every time you walk past the coach or have a talk with anyone or some scout, it's always an interview. And so it's just always preparing yourself. Just so when you come across coaches and when you have informal meetings with teams and then you have formal meetings with teams with the GMs and the head coaches and stuff like that. So it's also preparing for those things as well, not just on the field, 40-yard dash routes. It's also just preparing yourself for the meetings and just the kind of the length and the entirety and the multiple questions and things that you'll have to answer to. And so it's just a combination of, like I said, preparing for meetings and also preparing for the drills and the 40-yard dash and everything else that comes with it.
Awesome, man. And we're going to talk a little bit more about college here. Take a step away from the draft for a second. You and Cincy, you guys, made history, group of five team going to the college football playoff. Do you think that gives you a leg up being, that underdog in that basically for that whole season, nobody thought you guys were going to get in. You guys do get in, you make the history. I think that gives you a leg up going into the NFL, having that experience.
No, for sure. You're just surrounded by such a great group of guys, such good leaders, such good just dogs. You had Kobe Bryant, you had, Ahmad Gardner, you had Desmond Ritter, you had Alec Pierce, you had Jerome Ford, you had Brian Cook, Majay Sanders. I mean, there's so many guys you had on that squad, that I can think of. And, just being around that type of environment, it just makes you better and overall just rises your game day in and day out. I had I always say, like, you had the Jim Thorpe Award winner on one side, and then you had, D-Roy, the Defensive Rookie of the Year on the other side. You know what I'm saying? And so I went against that every day. And so it just ultimately made me better. And so, just being able to have that experience, going to that level, being able to face, Alabama in the Cotton Bowl, being the top four team. And even the year before that, we were ranked like sixth in the nation, and we ended up facing Georgia in the Peach Bowl. We lost on a walk-off field goal 51-yard, walk-off Peach Bowl record field goal. And so, just having those experiences going against those top teams who eventually would be national champions, of course, I think it just gives me a leg up, just being in that environment and able to, deal with adversity and all the different pressures that come with it.
Everybody knows that doing prospect interviews, talking on a podcast 2-3 times a week, it comes with a necessary confidence that you have to have. And one thing that really improves confidence is the new and improved Performance Package 4.0 by MANSCAPED. It has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all of these goodies. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is the future of grooming and, dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever. I am blown away by the performance and craftsmanship of this trimmer. Their 4th generation trimmer offers cutting-edge ceramic blade to help reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. Their Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and also has a 4000K LED spotlight so you can get a more precise shave. Because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess on the bathroom floor. If you thought that was good but want to take your grooming even further to the next level, the Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker ears and nose hair trimmer. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. The Crop Preserver below-the-waist deodorant and Crop Reviver below-the-waist toner will change the way you approach your daily hygiene routine. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts in this Performance Package 4.0, the boxers and the shed travel bag. Bring your comfort in boxers to another level. It's time to take care of yourself. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off with code WEBALL. That is WEBALL, WEBALL. Make sure to use it on your next purchase with Manscaped for 20% off. For sure. And I think, going back to those guys that you played with, well, you have multiple who got drafted and are in the NFL already. What is it like? Like, have you been able to speak to them about this process? Have they given you any sort of pointers, as you maneuver your way through this draft process?
Yeah, definitely. One guy who, I love is Alec Pierce, man. He was, that's my guy, and so, we've developed a really good relationship since, I walked into Cincinnati, and, we've been in constant communication. And so, the biggest thing that I took away from him was that, especially just during this draft process and you're meeting with teams constantly, just be yourself. Don't try to be somebody that you're not, because ultimately, you want to go to a place where it fits you. It fits your mindset, your style, your culture, just the way you go about your business. Because every team is different. It's 32 different teams with 32 different cultures and opinions, and so each team's not going to be the same. And so for me, it was just, like I said, just being yourself, not being somebody that you're not, and just being genuine and authentic in who you are.
That's great. And it speaks to the level of character of you and how great those guys have been helping you throughout this process, especially Alec, as you said. But other than your teammates in college, who was the best cornerback matchup you had? I do go to Temple, so I got to watch you this year, go up against my Owls. It was not a fun day for me. I'll tell you that much. But who was the best corner you went up against in college?
The best corner, I can't remember his name. I think his name was Tyrone. He went to Tulsa. His number 0. I think it starts with a T, but his name, I think his name was Tyrone, but it was number 0. I know that for a fact. He's number 0, and he was probably the best cornerback I went against my whole college career. That's including going against Georgia, Alabama, all these bigger teams that we end up facing. He was probably the best one I went against, honestly, because he knew what he was doing. He knew where his help was. He was sound in his technique. He was patient. He just, he was just confident in just what he was doing. And so, he was kind of really I won't say the first person, but, somebody who during the game I really had to adjust to and figure out, when I came to the sideline, like, all right, how can I, really get this guy in, an uncomfortable position? How can I get him on his toes? Because he's just doing a really good job out there of, doing what he's, been taught to do, and just in his technique.
Yeah, definitely. Do you what is that process like? In the middle of a game, you see somebody like that and you're like, maybe this guy not has my number, but is matching me up better than I thought they would. What do you think is that what goes into that process of like, how am I going to break a tendency here? How am I going to, potentially break this guy down in a way that he didn't see coming?
Yeah, well, I think game of football is all about who can adapt the best. You come in with the game plan of like you want to do this, you want to do that. You have, you watch film and see like, okay, this, that, and the third, but it's different when you're out there. You can watch as much film as you want, but when you get out on the field, it's just a little bit different. And so it's just really about it, just adapting and adjustments. That's the biggest thing in football, just who can adjust the best. Within the course of the game. And, that separates the good receivers from the great receivers, guys that have counter moves and are able to adjust off of different things that they see. And so, like I said, just really being in, constant communication with your coach, asking what does he see? And obviously you giving your feedback. But, at the end of the day, you're just battling. You're just finding different ways to compete. And sometimes as the game goes along, you find different things that, are like, okay, well, maybe I should speed up my tempo a little bit. This guy he's a patient guy, so I got to be aggressive. Maybe get him on his toes. If he's an aggressive guy, maybe I got to be a little more patient. Just kind of really filling the game out. And as the game goes on, you'll start to figure out different things and different moves and counter moves that'll eventually, have you successful.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like, especially with yourself, viewed as somebody who's like very much speed oriented, going over the top, deep threat kind of guy. Do you think that that impacts a lot of the way that like corners and defensive backs and like defenses in general play you because they think that that's like your main, tool in your bag and then it allows you to, move on to other stuff?
Yeah, after I want to say really after we faced Indiana, which is the game, it's probably my best game of the season last year. I want to say I got hurt the following game. I came back, and I seen a lot of like too high safeties, a lot of cover two in certain situations, and we were a team that used a lot of hand signals, and so we would kind of try to get a look at the defense at times, and so we would do like a dummy clap, and so we look at the sideline, and okay, they're in this type of defense, we'll call our play accordingly. And so what teams started to try to do was whenever we kind of double clap, they were kind of expecting some type of big play or, a double post, just obviously based off of tendencies, they watch film as well. And so a lot of times whenever we tried to adjust to some type of, deep play or, play action pass or some sort, you would see a lot of teams going to like a cover two look to try to get a safety over top. So I could have to, obviously the deep balls and things of that nature were, honestly shut down in a lot of ways or limited as the season went on because teams kind of started to get a beat on, obviously our strengths and my strengths. And so, from there, just like I said, just really taking advantage. Okay, well, they don't want to do this. We'll just, once again, having just a counter move, or counter play. Okay, they want to take this away. Well, we're going to start attacking this. And so then it's just catching them at the right time to hit them with something over the top.
So would you say that's something that like your offense, especially in Cincy, that was something that you guys were like kind of always trying to get back to was like, how can we make them adjust so we can get that big play?
Yeah, for sure. It was always just, what are you seeing out there? Is he playing off? If he's playing off, okay, cool. We'll take the easy access. If he's, up close, then okay, we'll see how he's playing and see if we can hit him over top. Is he a guy that's, squatting out there, especially if it's a guy that's squatting who likes to play, kind of 7 to 8 yards off and he just likes to squat on little things. We'll run plays kind of at the beginning of the game that will kind of set him up for, things like that. We'll run like out routes off of kind of the same stem as a post route to kind of see, okay, on some of these out routes, is he just sitting on these out routes? And so I would come back to the sideline and be like, hey, coach, or, he would kind of agree with me, obviously, with him watching. He would see like, yeah, he's squatting out there on some of these out routes. And so it looks like he's ready for a post route, and then at the end of the day, it's setting him up, making everything look the same, and then giving him something to the out and then taking off to the post just to get him to bite. And so that's how you get guys to turn around. And that's how you play mind games with people.
Definitely.
So you talked a little bit about separating, the good receiver from the great. I got kind of a two-parter here. Who was your favorite wide receiver growing up that made you like fall in love with football? And then who's one wide receiver that you would compare your game to now?
So growing up, I actually played running back. So I was running back from when I was 8 years old all the way to my senior year in high school. I didn't actually start playing receiver until I got to college. my freshman year. And so growing up, I was a running back guy. So I watched all the running backs. So to answer the first part, like I said, I paid attention to all the running backs. So growing up, my favorite running back was it's probably Adrian Peterson for sure. It was definitely Adrian Peterson. I loved Adrian Peterson. He was probably the number one guy. And I also liked watching a lot of old school players like Gale Sayers, OJ Simpson, Tony Dorsett, Eric Dickerson. Uh, you know, I love those type of guys. And so, but really growing up, it was probably Adrian Peterson I kind of fell in love with. And I also fell in love with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson kind of took that to a whole nother level for me as far as just the love of running the football and just being creative and just having your own little kind of pin to your game. Because he did things like, especially in college, that like I never seen before. He did different moves. It was just like, man, he's just different. And so, I love those guys. And then if I could compare myself to someone today, it would probably be someone like a Hollywood Brown, somebody really stretched the field. Deontay Johnson, slimmer guy, but puts a lot of pressures on DBs. Also like Terry McLaurin. Love that guy. He's a dog. He's a leader. I think he just doesn't get enough love because of inconsistent quarterback play. But those three guys are three guys who I love watching.
That
Definitely.
makes
Would you say
so much
those are
sense with
guys?
the running backs. That makes so much sense with the running
Yeah.
back. We were watching last night and you ran an end around and I was like, bro, he runs like a running back. He shouldn't be able to do that. And it makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say those receivers specifically are like you were talking about them as ones you look at like in the NFL? Would you say there was like certain receivers that like when you were making that like, position transition, you were like, these are the guys I gotta watch if I'm gonna like these are the guys I'm gonna model my technique after now that I gotta get this down pat.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, the receiver position, I was like, okay, how do I had to look at the best. That's what I did playing running back was just look at who are the best in the game at doing what they do, and what are they really good. How are they so good at doing it. And there's a lot of different receivers that are good at a lot of different things. You got guys that are great at the line. You got guys that are great at manipulation down the field. Guys that are great in and out of their breaks. And so, it was kind of a plethora of different guys of like, okay, like another guy, Devontae Adams. He's great at the line. I mean, he's obviously a great route runner as well, and catches the ball well. But when people talk about Devontae Adams, they talks about his release package, and his ability to kind of take the game of basketball and put it on the football field at the line of scrimmage. And so he does a lot of different crossovers and things of that nature that you would see on a basketball court. He does pretty much the same thing on a football field. And so, you got guys like that. And then you got guys like Hollywood Brown who are guys that just learn how to, manipulate DBs to turn their shoulders and that's how they get that vertical separation and get over top of DBs. So you watch guys like that to say, okay, how does he, do those type of things? Another guy's Amari Cooper, who's, so sudden and so quick at what he does. He's just great at, manipulating DBs, making them think, one thing and doing another. And so, just really watching a plethora of different guys and just watching, how they get open, what's their mentality as well. When they walk out, how do they play? What's their, kind of play mentality? And, so you just kind of take all these different types of things that you see and try to mold it into your own.
For sure. And I think like, you watch all those different guys and you're looking at different things. Is there a certain thing, like let's just say you're watching a receiver, let's just say, like we don't have to put a name out there because I think it's different for everybody. But if you're watching a guy, is there like a first thing that you always see and you're like, yeah, that's something like I gotta not necessarily like gotta add, but like, is there a first thing that always stands out to you with like a different receiver and like their different style or something?
I think so. I think so, even just subconsciously. I mean, even when you just watch football in general and you just watch players, you just it's like what makes them good. You just see something, it's just like, wow, that's different. That's just different. That's different with them. And so yeah, I think like I said, something always jumps off at the screen with different people, whether it's man, that dude is quick, or man, he's got speed, or man, he really just knows how to, make a DB think he's doing this and he's really not even doing that. He's just setting him up and doing that. It's just different things like that that jump off the screen, or even just how fast he gets in and out of a break. Like, man, like at the top of a route, it's like, okay, the DB's even with him. And as soon as he breaks down, it's like he gets 2-3 yards of separation, and so it's just little things like that that you notice, in receivers.
For sure.
All right, I got a little bit of a fun one here. I know you played basketball in high school. If you were to
Yeah.
make a starting five of just guys from this year's draft, going into this draft class with you, and you're gonna go 82-0 in the NBA. Who you got? Who's on your starting five?
So my starting five, you said of. So wait. You said this year's
This
draft
year's
class
class.
or
This year's class. This year's draft class.
just this year's draft class in the NFL?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a tough
um,
one. I had to do it.
yeah,
We could
well, I'm
definitely
going
broaden it to other NFL players if there's somebody you
Yeah,
think
just
stacks
go
out.
whole NFL, make it easier on
whole
you.
NFL. Okay, I'm going with me. I'm starting at the. I'm going to start at the one of the two. I'm going to be your prime Russell Westbrook guy. Slasher guy, get to the basket. I'm gonna play D up. So I'm definitely going with myself. Um, let's go with my guy over here. I'm training with him. Let's go with Tyreek Stevenson out of Miami, cornerback. I'm going with him. Let's go with another guy I'm training with out of he went to Florida. Let's go with my guy Richard Garrard at the center spot. Tyreek will be the 4. He'll be the center. Let's go with my guy Josh Wiley. Tight end. Let's put him in there. He got some size to him. Let's add him in there, and I got one more. Let's go with. Let's go with my guy over there, Michael Wilson. I like him. Let's go with Michael Wilson over there at Stanford.
Definitely. You said Russell Westbrook guy. We're gonna see you out there grabbing some boards.
Yeah,
Getting
no,
them.
I'm an energy guy. I'm a slasher guy. Especially when I was in high school, I was a person that I guarded the team's best player every night. I was the type of person that as soon as you make a basket, I will be having the ball inbound, and as you're jogging back, I'm already shooting my layup. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna catch you off guard. I'm gonna catch you lacking, and so, I was real fast going in and out, which I honestly think helped me in football as well because it helped me, stop and start. Because in basketball, I had to really learn how to control my pace and my speed, and learn how to speed up and slow down because I was so fast. And when I moved in the court, I played with so much speed. Ultimately helped me learn how to stop and start, and be able to move and twerk and do all different types of things.
Yeah, definitely. Because basketball, all about different, changing tempo, trying to get guys leaning, going certain directions. But yeah, no, definitely. Would you say there's any other like specific thing that you're like, yeah, during my time playing basketball, I was like, oh, maybe I adapted it to football along with just the movement and things like that?
Yeah, like I said, kind of what Devonta Adams did. As far as just taking the basketball court and put it on the football field, like it's kind of the same thing. If you let's look at, if you're releasing off the line, if you're doing a crossover, you don't want to just do it right up in the guy's face. You're probably gonna get the ball picked, you're probably gonna get it stolen. You're gonna probably hit it, or it's gonna bounce off his foot or your foot, or you want to have some space before you actually create your move, but you want to be close enough to where you make your move, it's effective. Because if you make it too far off, the defender is not going to respect that at all. It's like, okay, he can recover easily. Same thing on the football field. If you make your move too close, there's a good chance that you'll probably get jammed up in your pads and you end up out of bounds. But if you, if you know how to not be too close and not too far, and be, get up on his toes to make him uncomfortable, you're able to make your move, then you'll actually be effective in what you're doing. Same thing on a basketball court. And so it's the same thing, like I said, with the crossover, the footwork is, a lot of the same. When you're doing a lot of things, you also have to learn how to use your hands. Same deal when you're driving to the hole past somebody, on a basketball court, just, getting hands off of you. Same deal when you're releasing off the line, not letting guys get hands on you when you're releasing down the field. So a lot of adaptability from basketball to football.
All right, man.
Definitely.
That's gonna be it for us. Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone listening, thank you so
Yeah.
much for listening, watching. Wherever you're listening to this, leave a like, comment, subscribe, leave a rating if you're on Spotify. Whatever you have to say it with your chest. And that's gonna be all for the We Ball podcast. Thank you.